Today I am celebrating the life of Johann Sebastian Bach, who was one of the most productive composers and musicians of our modern times, although clearly not that modern by our current standards. He was a classical composer, an organist who developed, well, so many ideas. I personally am probably not even the person to really give credit to all that he achieved. I'm not a technical classical musician that would really be able to understand and give proper reverence to his contributions. And yet, I have enjoyed a great deal of his music. I was very fortunate to live for some time in a city where there were lunchtime recitals uh, where for very small amounts of money one could go and enjoy orchestral performances by great musicians, and so many times there were inclusions from Bach in their programs. And I have particular fondness for some pieces that were recommended by Alan Watson Aldous Huxley, pieces that they had developed very, very intimate connections with, and I've also been able to enjoy those pieces thanks to their recommendations. I think the best thing for me to do here is to allow his music to really speak for himself. So I'm going to post a link to one of his greatest pieces, to my view, underneath in the description of this video, and maybe just take a moment to enjoy the music rather than the description of this man, Johann Sebastian Bach. But one thing I'd like to mention is the fact that he was orphaned from a very early age. And I always think it's incredible how life goes on and manages, this young boy without parents managed to wrestle such a productive and inspiring life from what some people might think of as something you never get over. And I've met people who were orphaned at early ages, and I've known some who did indeed carry a scar that lived with them. But I've also met others that, perhaps like Bach, just saw it as a part of their journey, something that they got over, that they incorporated and moved on with. He was taken into the care by other members of his family, and obviously he found his way through music into being a very productive member of the community. But it's interesting considering that at the time in which he lived, this is long before there was such a thing as a state to be able to take care of people. There weren't social welfare and benefit systems that he could take recourse to. And I mean, in a funny way, maybe that was his saving because those systems aren't working quite as well as we might like. There are a lot of children who suffer through the welfare system, and I'd like to give a moment of thought to them. But yet he was taken care of by his community, and he found a way, despite his challenges, to be an extremely productive person in his lifetime. I did read an account of him being chased up the road by a man with a stick whom he reported to the authorities. I think he may have taken a beating. So his life wasn't without its difficulties, and yet, despite that, he managed to produce more music than almost any other composer, as I understand it. Certainly he's in the top 10 in terms of the number of pieces that he created. Quantity isn't everything, quality is important, but his music is sublime, and I highly recommend you take a moment to enjoy it. This is a moment of silence to honour Johann Sebastian Bach and the way that he painted the silence with such beautiful music.